beliefs change. Not small opinions, major positions. Positions he publicly taught. Positions he built platforms around. Positions he sold products around. For years, he taught Israel-only salvation. Then later, he began teaching Gentile salvation. And what made that difficult for me was that he had publicly said before that if someone wanted to make real money, they would teach Gentile salvation. Then, later, that became the doctrine he was teaching. At the same time, he changed his positions on the names Yahweh and Yahushai. For years, he taught those names. For years, he defended those names. For years, families learned those names. For years, children learned those names. Then later, he began saying those were not actually the original Hebrew names, and that Paleo-Hebrew was not even a true biblical dialect. This was especially difficult for me because those are the names I pray in. Those were the names I believe in. Those were the names I prayed throughout my pregnancy. Those were the names I prayed during my labor and delivery. I had a healthy pregnancy and a delivery that went exactly how I had hoped. And the entire time I was praying in those names. When I asked him about it, he told me I could still use those names and that it would not affect my salvation. He just no longer believed they were the original names. But what confused me was that he had spent years teaching those names publicly. Just a few months before he made this change, he had produced children's books called Yahweh's Kingdom for His Children and Yahushai's Kingdom for His Children. Families bought those books. Parents taught their children from those books. And when I pointed that out to him and said, "You just sold all those books with Yahweh and Yahushai's name in it," he told me, "I know, I'm going to have to make some more and put Gentiles in there." That conversation stuck with me because I wasn't thinking about money at first. I was thinking about sincerity. I was thinking about belief. I was thinking about whether the person teaching these things actually believed them when he was teaching them. What made it even more confusing was learning later that he publicly stated he and Hassad had already presented this information to Alazar before the doctrine had changed publicly, and that Alazar rejected it. So now I'm looking at the timeline wondering, if you believed this before the public change, then how long were you teaching something different from what you actually believed? And if these were major doctrinal issues, why continue producing materials, selling books, charging for classes, and building products around positions you no longer agreed with? Those were questions I wasn't ready to ask yet, but they started forming because some of the same things that made me question him as a husband eventually